In this video, we are going to create a simple hello world function using llm-exe. Let's get started. We start by defining the prompt. We'll use the create chat prompt helper, which will return us a prompt class which has several methods on it that allow us to manipulate the prompt and add user messages, system messages, assistant messages, format with data, and some other neat tricks. Let's see just what the prompt looks like if we log it out here. And as you can see, it constructs an array of the role and content similar to what you may be familiar with sending to OpenAI. The next step is going to be to define the parser. The parser is what dictates the output formatting of your LLM function. So we're just going to use the default parser here, which is the string, which is what the LLMs will be returning already. The next step here is going to be to define our LLM that we want to use. We'll use the use LLM helper function and pass in the provider and model that we want to use. You could also pass in many other options here, such as temperature or whatever the options that the different models support. In this example, we're not going to pass any options. And at this point, we have our prompt, then the parser, and the LLM, and we'll wrap them all together in an executor. So the executor is like a container that combines the prompt, the LLM, and the parser and calls them all together. To use the executor, we use the execute method. We can log the result and run this and see what we get. So as you can see, we got a response, which was the string, and it was a response to our hello, how are you prompt that we inputted. Now the next step of this example will turn this all into a single function, which is basically just wrapping this into the body of our function. And we'll return the executor.execute, which will allow us to call this function, and it will just return the result that we had logged earlier. So let's try that out. Excellent. Alright, so that seemed to work. So now what we can do is just treat this like any other function. We can see that it's a promise that returns a string. All the types are inferred from the parser, and we can use this in our application. Now, to demonstrate some of the cooler features about llm-exe is if we wanted to use a different underlying model, we could do that without changing really any of our code except for this line right here. So let's go ahead and use this latest Claude model. And all we do is update it and run it again. And now we've got the result, and we ran it using this Claude model. We didn't have to change anything in our code base. We didn't have to include any third-party SDKs. All of the models that are supported by llm-exe can be swapped in and out. So if we want to go use Grok, we can use Grok. And let's take this example one step further, and let's modify our prompt here to tell our LLM that we want it to return a list of responses. And we'll switch our model back to OpenAI. And we'll change our output parser to list to array. And there's a lot of pre-built parsers that llm-exe comes with. Let me show you those real quick. And you can also write your own parsers. So these will let you parse JSON or a list to an array, or extract markdown out of, or extract code blocks out of markdown, parse the response as a number, etc. And just simply by changing our parser type, we can now see that our result is going to return us an array of strings. And if we run this, we should return an array of strings, which we did. So this is powerful because you can now pass the response of this function directly into another part of your program and not have to parse the output yourself. It guarantees type safety, and it just makes calling LLMs feel like a regular Typescript function. And again, we're LLM agnostic, so if we go back to Claude model here, we should get an array as well. And it seems like they agree about what's the most popular programming languages. All right, let's take this example a step further, and let's pass some data into this function and reference that data inside of our prompt. So we'll remove this number 3, and we'll create a variable here, which is number of items. We'll expect our function now to take an input of number of items. And let me just switch some typings around here so we can pass this type directly in. Alright, and now we can pass this type into our prompt, and now our prompt knows what the input is expected to be. So when we run execute here, we can pass an object of data into execute, and this object becomes available inside of our prompt. And you can see now Typescript starting to yell at us as it knows that we're expected to pass in a number of items here. Alright, so now we can test this by, let's make this a 2 and run. And see that now we're only getting 2 items. Alright, so there you have it. In just a few minutes, we've built a fully typed LLM-powered function, seamlessly switched between models without rewriting our logic, and discussed a few examples showcasing why llm-exe makes developing LLM-powered applications faster and simpler. Be sure to star us on GitHub and check out the docs at llm-exe.com. We'll have more demos, deep dives, and best practices coming soon, so don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned. Thanks for watching.